Hello. So we are focusing on longevity, and today for this week, our focus is strength is your superpower. And now I'm sure you've heard me talk about strength and how important it is, but I really want to go over how by building muscle and maintaining your muscle mass, how it can really totally change the way that you age. And I want you to understand this as to why it is so important for what you're doing. So strength helps you it's not just about how we look, but by having the more strength that we have, it helps with lifting, shopping, getting up and down, being able to get something from the top shelf. It's these basic movements that we need strength for, and it is so important, and it protects your body from injuries. So we want to focus on today is to why strength is your superpower and how you can use it to your advantage as we age. And what will happen if we don't protect our muscle, and the little steps that you can start taking to stay strong and fit for life. So the first thing I want to go over is a word called Sarcopenia. Now it is, you may have heard it before or you may not have, but it is the natural age related loss of muscle mass and strength. So this starts to happen at the age of 30. So if you are not actively working on your muscle after 30, we start to lose a little percentage of it each year. And it starts to really accelerate once we get into our 50s and 60s, unless you're doing something about it. So why it's so important to do your strength classes, which I know all you guys do. I just think it's important as well the more that we can understand this, then the more we can understand why we're doing this. It's easy to have this reminder so that we know and we're not giving up on things. So the less muscle that we have, the harder it becomes to do everyday little things. Basic things like walking up the stairs, standing up from a chair, being able to lift a grandchild. But the thing is that losing muscle as you get older doesn't have to be something you accept. It is not inevitable. It can be changed. And strength training is the antidote to do that. So there's lots of studies that show adults that can build muscles well into their 80s and beyond, and it doesn't take hours in a gym or always lifting heavy weights. It just starts with consistency and intention and making sure that we're doing those key movements and moving well. So there is a beautiful lady who only started training in her 70s, and Joan, her name is, and she started training in her 70s. She got off all of the medication that she's on, and she's really inspiring. And it is not something that you have to it is not something that we think, society tends to let us think that we're getting too old and that we can't do these things that we're old. But I'm really here to make sure that we are changing that thought process. Muscle is so much more than just strength. Okay, so when we talk about muscle, most people think of your movement, and yes, having muscle helps you move and lift things, but muscle is also doing so much more behind the scenes that sometimes we're probably not aware of. Firstly, your bone health. So when you strength train, we are putting stress on your bones in a good way, and it's stimulating the body to build and maintain our stronger bones. So that's hence why I'm always adding in your Tabatas, because that little pounding is helping with that. And increasing our muscle mass to protect our bones, it can reduce the risk of things like osteoporosis and fractures. So again, the more muscle that we have is also going to protect us against balance and falls. So your muscle, having more muscle and having muscle to protect you is going to keep you stable. And when our muscles are weak, it would leads to things like poor posture, slower reaction times, and unsteady footing. And strength training improves your balance and your coordination, and it is really essential in preventing falls. And falls is the number one cause of injuries in older adults. So having muscle also keeps your metabolism alive and active. So the more lean muscle that you have, the more calories that you will be able to burn at rest. So it helps regulate your blood sugar and improves your insulin sensitivity. So this is key factors in preventing diabetes and weight gain. So another reason why we want to really protect our muscle and make sure we have a good amount of muscle. Strength training also helps boost our moods, and it reduces anxiety, and it helps with focusing. So when we feel nice and strong, you can move through life with confidence and independence. Now, what the biggest thing I see as people age is they start to lose confidence in the way that the way their body moves. So they think that they need to go slower and be more careful because they don't want to fall. But sometimes when you're doing that, it's actually doing more damage, because the more cautious you are, sometimes the more you're leading yourself to fall over, because you're treading. So, like my grand, when she walks, she tries to take little steps, but the shuffling is actually really, really dangerous, and the shuffling has caused her to fall. So I want you to have confidence in how your body moves, and knowing that you can get up and down off the ground, and that you can balance on one leg, and you can do lots of things. And you may wonder why we're implementing this stuff, but it's so that whatever life throws at you, you'll be able to deal with it, and be proud that you are part of a training group, and you are prioritizing yourself and your body and prioritizing your muscle. Let's look at what the cost is of not building our muscle. Let's think about this. So if we were not training our muscles, we would slowly be losing them. And when we start losing our muscle mass, it's leading to more fatigue, more stiffness, a higher risk of injury, and loss of independence. But the good news is that it is never too late to start, and your body is incredibly adaptive. So whether you're 45 or 75, your muscles are really, really ready to respond. They just need the right stimulus. The thing also is, if whatever you had done previously, we have great muscle memory. So the things that you have done previously, your body will remember, and you'll more likely get to that, get back to where you were. Or even if it was 10, 20 years ago, you'll get back to there a lot sooner, because you'd already built that up. So it is never too late, and it is never, it's just not something we should accept. We shouldn't accept that we can't build muscle, or we just shouldn't accept it. As I hear lots of people talk about like, oh, it's not for me, or it's too hard for me, or it doesn't happen. It's not the case. It's just putting in the time. Like, as I say, true strength is when we do something slow and controlled. So putting in the time and putting our focus on really making sure that we are focusing on lifting heavier weights or doing more reps. And because of those reasons, that the number one, the loss of independence, that's not what I want for anybody. So what can your strength training look like? Well, ultimately, it would look like making sure that you're attending at least 3 strength classes a week. When you're in the classes, it's make sure that you are so I do all the planning for you. I make sure that the exercises are going to challenge your muscles. You need to do the right thing in making sure that you are being mindful of what we're lifting. We're thinking about, I'm doing a bicep curl here, and I'm really focusing on my bicep and making sure I'm squeezing that and working that. And be mindful of, what you eat after to help you fuel your recovery. It doesn't need to be fancy. You can also add little bits in during your day. So never underestimate, a little balance pose here while you're waiting for the kettle to boil. Every little bit adds up. So yeah, you can balance on one leg while you're brushing your teeth, or, you can do some little squats in the shower. Any of those little things, they really, really do add up. So how can we put some of this stuff into action? So first of all, I really want you to think about where you would like to be. Where would you like to be in 10, 20 years time now? No, we've spoken about this again before, but I'm here to remind you again. Where would you like to be? And how would you like to be moving? So that's the focus. And, that's the reason why you're attending these sessions, why you're trying to challenge your muscles and trying to lift. I had years ago, a couple of ladies in the class and they just talked and they just talked the whole time and they just lift. And yes, I know I talk and it's lovely to chat. But there's a bit of a balance. We need to understand, you need to make sure you are lifting a heavier weight. Your time is limited, and when I plan your sessions, I want you to get the maximum out of it, but I can only do so much. It's the weights that you lift, the way that you're thinking about the muscle as you are lifting. A little mini action for the week for you guys. I want you to try to at least do your strength training sessions at least 2 to 3 times. So book into your classes and make sure you're attending a minimum of 2 to 3 times. Strength classes. So add your other sessions on top of that, which might be some of the core classes or the balance or the flexibility or the movement style ones. Okay, that's on top. We need strength classes, which you're going to be lifting weights. Or you could say that's one thing, one mini action for the week. Or the second one is focus on improving one key movement. So let's think about on that one movement, let's say a chest press. I want you to lift a heavier weight when you're doing that exercise, or do a couple more reps of the same weight. So challenging, making sure that we are lifting a bit heavier, and do something that feels really achievable. And like I said, every little bit counts. So adding little bits in throughout your day can actually make a huge difference into the overall result. So to start to wrap up, I want to remember that strength isn't just physical, it is also emotional, mental, and essential for longevity. And every time you're training your muscles, you are investing in your future self, in your independence, your energy, and your ability to say yes to life. So please prioritize that and focus on, understand that's why you're doing it. I get it. It's sometimes hard to get up in the morning. It's hard to get up. That's the focus on this week, and it's really understanding why your strength is your superpower and how it is something that you can be in charge of for longevity and for living independently for as long as possible. Right. I will speak to you next week.